Well, hello everyone. Welcome to ProviNET and Caremerge's webinar series on the effectiveness of the Caremerge application in senior living and post-acute care. This is Joe Velderman calling in from ProviNET Solutions, and we're really happy to host the webinar for all of the attendees today. Just want to welcome everyone for attending, and thank you for taking some of your time to participate in this learning opportunity. For those of you who maybe didn't get an opportunity to join us on the first webinar, we're doing a three-part webinar series in conjunction with one of our partners, Caremerge, and we're taking time to really go through and educate folks on the Caremerge product because we think it's a really effective tool for a number of different purposes. I mentioned on the last webinar that one of the things that attracted me personally to Caremerge was their incredible use of mobile technology and applications. And when you think about the lives that we all live today, we have an app for just about everything and just about every organization that we interact with. I think I mentioned last time that I start using an app about 60 minutes after I wake up when I drive through Starbucks to get my coffee in the morning and pay for Starbucks using my app. And I usually end up at least once a week ordering Jimmy John's for lunch using an app on my phone. And inevitably, my wife calls me about 2 or 3 times a week while I'm on my way home asking if I can stop at Starbucks or asking if I can stop at Target to pick up something that she needs. So we end up using apps quite a bit in our day-to-day life, and it's almost an expectation. And so we're really happy to find a partner at ProviNET that has created an app for senior living and allows providers to really customize their use of that app as well as the branding of that app and really make the services that providers are providing much more relevant for 2017. So I mentioned 3-part webinar series. We did part 1 a couple of weeks ago on resident engagement and community engagement. And today we're going to be specifically focusing in on the topic of family engagement and how family members of loved ones are able to connect with the services and the staff of a provider to really keep tabs on what's going on with their loved ones. And this may not seem as relevant of a topic on a surface level, but what we found at ProviNET and what Caremerge has really done a good job of highlighting is that family engagement starts to build a trust bridge between a provider and a family. And that's so important. It may even be an unintended outcome of the family engagement piece, I'm not sure, but when you can start to build a trust relationship between family members and providers, you really kind of start to reduce some of the risk associated with providing care for those residents. And we've seen that actually be very demonstrated in our own use of the software with some of the customers that we work with who have adopted Caremerge. So I know we've only got about 30 minutes planned for the webinar happening today. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining. I am going to turn things over to Maggie McCann from Caremerge, and she's going to hop right into a demonstration of the family engagement piece. So Maggie, take us away.
Sure, we're going to have Josh Studzinski here give a quick overview of Caremerge before we hop into the demo.
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it. And we're very excited to have this webinar with ProviNET Solutions. They're a great partner of ours. And I'm just going to spend, just a minute or so just giving a background on Caremerge. We were founded in 2012, and we are an all-in-one platform that empowers families, residents, and staff. So our solution is made up of really 4 main solutions: family engagement, community engagement, Calendar Central, and chronic care management. So we design these solutions to really reinvent the senior living experience and streamline communications between family and residents and helping staff become more efficient using our web and mobile apps. Like Joe said, we're highlighting family engagement today on this webinar, and we're really excited because this is the cornerstone of our company and really helps us drive engagement between family and loved ones. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Maggie, who's going to actually dive into the demo. And you can see some more facts about our company right here. We have actually close to 500 client locations. We've raised about $20 million in funding here in Chicago. All these little nuances of our company and an awesome little Caremerge family or Caremergers picture. We really appreciate you all joining us, and Maggie's going to take it away, who's our product marketing manager.
Great, thanks, Josh. So as Josh mentioned, we have 3 core engagement products. We have the family engagement, which we're going to focus on today. That's really great in assisted living, memory care environments, and keeping families engaged with what's happening with the community and what's happening with their loved ones. Then we have our Calendar Central product, as well as community engagement. The Calendar Central webinar is coming up in a couple weeks, in 2 weeks, so look for information on registration for that as well. So what Caremerge is as a whole is we're a role-based permissions system. So that means that anybody who you give permission to enter the Caremerge system, you can do it based on different roles. So you can determine who is allowed to see messages, who's allowed to see resident personal information, who's allowed to access calendar, etc. So really, it gives you control of what's happening in your system at the community. We're also a fully HIPAA compliant system, which allows for communication between families and the community. As Joe's mentioned, we've got convenient mobile and native apps, so we're always available on web, desktop, or tablet. You can have as many users at the community as you want. We want to make sure that the different roles at the community all have access to what's in Caremerge and are able to use Caremerge to do their job more efficiently. So we never want to limit who has access to the system. That is completely up to the community. And it's also very easy to implement and to use, and we're really proud of creating a user-friendly system at Caremerge. So our story and how family engagement started. Asif Khan here in this picture, this is a picture of him and his parents. Asif is our founder, and the idea of family engagement was really developed at his dining room table in Chicago while his mother was very sick in Pakistan. He had no really good way to communicate with her doctors, and even her with the time difference and with the technology difference. It was really difficult for him to stay on top of what was happening and get updates on his mom. So with that, family engagement was born. Family engagement, the goal is really to make sure families are feeling engaged with the community and informed that what their loved ones are doing at the community, what's going on in their life. It's also important on the staff side because engagement with families needs to be easy and consistent. And the easier it is, the more consistent it is, the more the family trusts the community, the more the family feels comfortable with their loved one residing at that community. So here's a couple screenshots of the Family Engagement Family app. We really love at Caremerge, we allow family members to use an application that they can download from the App Store that shows them the calendar of what's happening at the community. It gives them an activity feed of what their loved one has actually attended. And then there's a messaging feature, which is very similar to what we see in typical text messaging, but it's a safe, secure, HIPAA-compliant system that allows them to send text and pictures back and forth with staff at the community. And you can pick which staff you want to communicate with, if you want to communicate with all of the staff at once. And on the staff side, they can choose which family members, or if they want to send a message to all of that resident's family members. Another thing we're really proud of that we've implemented into the family engagement solution is our NPS program. So what is NPS? NPS is the Net Promoter Score, which is a customer loyalty metric that's used globally. The one question that is involved with NPS is how likely are you to recommend this service or product to family and friends? So in the case of Caremerge, we say how likely are you to recommend this community to family and friends? And from that, the respondents, who are the family members, are allowed to score the community 1 to 10 and provide feedback. I'm going to show you really quickly a demonstration of how that works. Let me switch screens here. So this is our NPS tool. You'll sign in down here, and then here's the question, how likely are you to recommend this community? You can select 0 through 10. 0 through 6 are considered detractors, which means they're people that probably have issues with the community, and when they provide you feedback, it's really cool because it allows the community to take instant action on that feedback. 7s and 8s are considered passive scores, so those are people that aren't necessarily detractors. They don't have negative views of your community, but they're also not out there constantly recommending your community and speaking highly. So it's a really good opportunity when you see people have given you that 7 and 8 to take some time and do what you can to turn them into promoters. And then the 9s and the 10s are people who really love you, love what you're doing, and are very satisfied with the community. And those are great referral sources, and it's great to have that database so you know. So here, if I give we'll give a 6, for instance. So that's one of the detractor scores, and because it's a detractor, it asks you to select why. This is optional. You could just hit submit feedback, but say, dining and clinical services. You can add additional feedback and submit that, and it thanks you for your feedback. So that's a really cool thing we've integrated into the family engagement platform. Now I'll log into family engagement and show you how it works. So this is our resident dashboard. Here you'll see family messages, and if you have any new messages, they will appear there. Here's where you get alerts. If you log in, here's all the NPS scores that have been gathered for this particular resident. Any resident who has an NPS score received will show up here, and that's fully permissions-based as well. You can determine who at the community is able to see the NPS scores. Oftentimes people have just the executive director. So here we'll go into one of the residents, Norma Jerschley. You can see your personal information. There's room for other good-to-know information about their lifestyle, food, nutrition, emergency contacts, account info, all the basic stuff you would want on a resident. One thing I really love in the preferences and good-to-know information is when this is filled out, it's a really great opportunity for new staff members or maybe staff that's working on a different floor than usual or in a different part of the building than usual. They can get to know the resident a little bit better and have some conversation starters. We found a lot of people use this in memory care. If they're new to the community, they instantly can say, this person's a Packer fan, great, I'm gonna go in and talk to them about that and try to spark some conversation. So here on the left, you'll see family messages. If you click on that, it'll bring you to the staff side of family messages. So here, very similar again to a typical iPhone text message or Android text message system. Your messages are on the left, and this message can be scrolled up and down through this. So you see this family member has been sending pictures to the staff. Really cool thing that's fairly new is you can print those pictures. So we've had a lot of feedback. That's printing. So you can print the whole message, which is this, or if you click on the picture and click print, you can print the picture as well. We've had some really great stories of residents their family has sent pictures of their grandkids' first days of school or trophy-winning soccer games, and the staff is able to really use those pictures. We've got a couple of communities that went out and bought bulk frames, and they frame those pictures and deliver them specially to the residents as kind of a surprise. But it also just gives a really good opportunity for the staff to get to know the families a little bit better. You recognize people when they come in, you have things to talk to the family about, and you can converse back and forth with them. It's very simple to send a new message. You type new message, and then you can select all the staff at the community, one of the staff members, you could type the name in, and then if you want to include any other family members. I'm the only family member listed for this resident, because in order to be added as a family member, we have an authorized contact form that the resident or the person in charge of that resident's information is verifying. So they have to be verified and they have to be approved in order to be a family member on this. So you're not going to necessarily send it to every single family member, but you don't have to individually message every child of the resident. You can do it all at once. And you simply type in your message here, so it's very simple. Here are some other past messages, and you can just type thanks for sending. And that's it. It's very, very simple. Another cool feature we've added is the read by. So it'll show you who read it and when they read it. Something we found with communities is they often would say, we're sending all kinds of pictures and nobody's responding. So they didn't think people were using it. And then when they ceased using it, they got phone calls from families saying, what happened? Why am I not getting pictures? So what we realized is that sometimes families just want those great touch points. They want a picture of their dad, very comfortable, moved in after maybe he had a fall a couple weeks ago, just to reassure them that he's doing well, he's comfortable, he's recovering, he's still living a great life at the community. Another thing we found that's very, very useful for is the first 90 days. We have stories all the time from communities of families who think their loved one isn't getting any attention, isn't being involved in any activities, and is just miserable at the community because that's what they've heard from their loved one in the first, initial move-in process. And with family engagement, we've found staff react so well because they're able to show the family that they are taking good care of their loved one and that their loved one is adjusting to this, which really helps to build the trust and ease the guilt of that family for moving their loved one into a senior living community. So that's really the basis of our family engagement and family messaging software. It also integrates with the calendar. So as I said, the family on the family app or on the family desktop, they are able to see what's going on at the community and what activities are scheduled, and they can get notifications of what activities their loved one has attended if attendance is taken.
Awesome. Well, that was great. I really appreciate Maggie coming on and showing this simple, intuitive application that can really help families and loved ones stay engaged. Joe, Frank, do we have any questions?
We had one participant submit a question just a couple seconds ago, Josh, and it was a question of whether or not we could have a copy of this presentation made available afterwards. And yes, we've taken the liberty of recording this presentation, so we'll send out a link afterwards and you can share that with anyone who maybe didn't get a chance to participate. Maggie, I did have a question for you that I wanted to ask, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'm just curious, what sort of correspondence do you guys most typically see between family members and caregivers or other staff members that may be working for the provider?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we encourage with family engagement is to really use it as a positive communication tool. There are plenty of conversations that happen within this industry that still need to happen over the phone or in person. Emergency medical information, issues, any sort of medical information. Really, family engagement isn't the place for that. The most effective way to use this is to reassure the family and show them stories or pictures of what their loved one is doing that are positive and make them feel better. We had one community that sent a picture of an older gentleman singing karaoke with a nice note, and the response they got back from the daughter was, "I've never heard him sing in my life. He's clearly very comfortable and enjoying himself here." So things like that really just show positive stories and reassure the families, no matter where they are, whether they're next door and they visit every day, they're still missing things, or they're still not around when their dad sings karaoke. And it's great when they're in other countries, other states, or just not able to visit as much. They get to feel a little bit more connected to what's going on with their loved one.
Mm-hmm. And do the family members have the ability to directly communicate with their loved ones through the app as well, or is it just with the caregiving staff?
They do not. It's with the staff at the community, which is why we recommend it really in memory care and assisted living settings. We find that oftentimes in independent living, the resident is communicating with their family quite often through their own iPad or cell phone, and that communication doesn't have to have the HIPAA compliance behind it.
Right, right. Yeah, so this isn't really a replacement for the Sunday afternoon phone calls to mom and dad. It's just really a great avenue, a secure avenue for family members to communicate directly with caregivers that are providing the care for their loved ones.
It's also a great supplement to those Sunday afternoon calls because we hear a lot of stories of people who just say, "Oh, I didn't do anything this week," or nothing happened, nothing exciting. I mean, I say that when my parents ask me what happened this week. And this way, they maybe got a picture of the painting they did it during an activity, or they can ask about a class they attended and really strike up that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, great. I don't see any other questions that have been submitted. If anyone has any questions or wants to dive into any particular part of the software, please feel free to submit those through the GoToMeeting application that's running on your workstation. We'd be happy to field those for you. And in the meantime, if you have any more questions about ProviNET Solutions or about Caremerge, please feel free to contact us. Our contact information is available on both of our respective websites, and we would be more than happy to connect with you and answer any other questions that you may have about either one of our organizations or the services that we provide. I really want to take opportunity to thank Josh and Maggie for just a really great demonstration and overview of how this new mobile technology can be so successful and effective in demonstrating the quality work that providers are doing today. And thank everyone for their time and energy in hopping on the webinar today to view this. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you for our third installment of this webinar series 2 weeks from now.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining.
All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.